I wouldn't say that I was particularly introduced to that much music when I was really young. I mean, I was, but it mainly came from my mother's side. But my family aren't particularly musical. I didn't really have that much musical influence. But it was from my mum, actually, that I kind of got opened up to more electronic music. Didn't get into electronic music till I was about 16. I still find that I don't listen to any one particular genre of music. I like to keep it quite eclectic and listen to lots of different things. I think that's really important. I started getting into electronic music when I went to college, which was when I was 16. I was on the same course as Tony Williams, otherwise known as Headhunter, and now Addison Groove. We were on the same course. And then I went to university at Bath Spa, where I met Laurie Appleblim and Will, who later became Gatekeeper. We were all on the same course, and Tony Headhunter was on the same course as well. And that's where I first got introduced to the sounds of dubstep, which was this really small thing, kind of just only in London, really. One of the first times I met Laurie, we were mixing some records round at a friend's house, and he was like, "Check this out, boys, you won't have heard anything like this." And he put a record on the turntable and played it. It blew my mind. I was like, what's this? He was like, "Well, it's kind of called dubstep, and the only place you can really get it is London. There's very few records that you can actually buy." When Pinch did a Bristol takeover of Forward, so a few years later, I was lucky enough to go there and play, and Tom was like, "Yeah, check this out. My mate's running this night. It's called Context. It's down at Timbuktu, small underground club in Bristol." So a few of us came over from Bath, particularly to see that night, but no one was there, no one turned up. And it was like that for a while. It was a really kind of intimate thing. And slowly but surely it started to build a bit more of a name and kind of build up from there. It kind of started in Croydon, and it was Rinse FM that really started broadcasting the sound. There was this contingent of producers in Croydon, and Rinse FM was their platform, and then there slowly but surely became this contingent of producers in Bristol, and we moved over from Bath to Bristol in 2006. There was a real scene sort of knitting together of people who were really into the music, and it was really small. You'd go to a dubstep night and you'd see all the same faces in the rave, and you'd chat to DJs and everyone would get to know each other, and that's how the scene sort of started to grow from there. I think Bristol has always had a great passion for underground music. A dub is a version or a remix of a reggae tune, which is taking the main elements of the reggae tune, mainly the bass, and having that at the forefront, the rhythm, but quite stripped down with the offbeat sort of skank of it, and a few sounds with lots of effects like delays and reverb. So that is very much inherent and a big part of the early dubstep sound, the half step, the bass, and a few sparse sounds with lots of delay. The sound system culture of the Jamaica sound systems back in the 60s and 70s became a big feature of dubstep. In order to appreciate dubstep, you really have to hear it on a sound system. You just feel it, and it would vibrate the hairs in your nose, and your chest would rattle, and you're just experiencing this bass rushing through you and flapping your trousers practically. The dub plate culture of it was very much part of it as well. Sound system stuff in Jamaica was, you do a version, you get it cut onto dub plate, and then you could play it on the sound systems. The same thing happened with dubstep. I've got some here actually that I brought with me, which are quite it's quite old tunes that I got cut onto dub plate, and they're often like, say, 10-inch one-off vinyls which get cut on a lathe and often onto acetate. These ones are actually more vinyl, so they're a bit more like vinyl, and they last for longer. But it's getting played a lot on Rinse FM, people like N-Type, Chef, Scream and Benga doing shows. Started to realise there were more scenes emerging in the UK, but mainly it was very much Bristol and London. Bristol was always known as the second home of dubstep, I think, really. Marianne Hobbs picked up on it, and she had a late night show on Radio 1. She was really pushing it. She was really interested in the stuff that was coming out of Croydon and the stuff that was getting played on Rinse. She was also really interested in the stuff that was coming out of Bristol. So we were sending her tunes and getting them played on Radio 1, which was a real buzz for everyone involved at the time. And then it just started to sort of reach a wider audience and kind of blow up from there. I was DJing as well down in Bristol and producing, and had a couple of releases out. And my peers, you know, Apple Blim, Gatekeeper. How would I describe a wobble? Wob wob. It's basically an LFO. It repeats a pattern at a low frequency. It sounds like a wow. But now it's kind of mutated into wow, 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 wow. It's gone ridiculous. Like these days, it's really easy to make music. Everyone's got a PC or a laptop. Everyone can download illegally software, and even like computers come with software where you can easily make music. In many ways that's a good thing, but also in other ways it's sort of saturated what's there. As a producer, I feel I have to work a bit harder to make something sound good, because there's so many readily available sample packs and sources of sound and bits of software that essentially can do it for you without you really doing anything. The cool thing that dubstep did do was it crossed a lot of genres together. It had a few rules, but whatever you did or added to those rules, it was still dubstep, but it allowed in a lot of other influences and a lot of other sounds. I think now people are a bit more open to cross genres.